This is hopefully the most valuable No Man's Sky guide to get you started right and avoid the struggles that I had early on. From getting tens of millions of credits to the best upgrades, nanites, and maxing out all of your gear, as well as your resources, I got you. No Man's Sky in 2025 is one of the most fun and largest exploration games that exist, and fun enough you can easily put in hundreds and hundreds of hours. If you've never played No Man's Sky, trust me, you're missing out. A quick thanks to Hello Games for providing me a game key and sponsoring today's video. When starting No Man's Sky, mining resources early on right off the bat is the most important thing, whether that's collecting oxygen, sodium, or dihydrogen. These are all resources that you need to build a lot of things in No Man's Sky, but also to recharge things like your life support, your hazard protection, and your mining beam. For instance, healing yourself requires oxygen, recharging your mining beam requires carbon, and your hazard protection requires sodium. These are all things you're going to need to do things like repair your gear and make ship fuel on a consistent basis. So prioritize getting as much as you can early on. Now, some things you can farm in deposits like sodium or copper or a lot of other materials early, and they're marked with this diamond sort of flag icon. And to mine these deposits, you actually need your terrain manipulator. Very early on in the game, they show you how to make this, but you need to have it equipped on your multi-tool. This will let you mine deposits and get the needed resources from them. If you actually notice when I shoot the mining laser, you can see the size of it. One trick the game doesn't actually tell you is that in the top right, you can actually switch the modes where you can switch between create, flatten, and restore, and these will all basically create land or get rid of land to help you fix the terrain if you're trying to build a base. However, in mine mode, you can actually hit the R, and what this is going to do is change the size of your beam. The bigger size is going to mine in a much bigger area but give you less resources. If you actually choose the smaller size, it takes a lot longer to actually mine, but you get way more resources from them. So early on, especially for some things like ammonium with small deposits, getting more resources but it taking a little longer to farm them is actually way more helpful. Another trick the game doesn't fully explain early on is in your catalog and guide section, you have a ton of information here that helps you, but specifically materials and items, what you can actually do is go to raw materials, and you can actually click the locate substance button and it will actually find that material for you. Say we wanted to farm copper, we could actually hit locate substance, and then if we hold our F scanner out, you can see instead of actually having to look over each area, it's just going to show up wherever there's a copper deposit, and it will make farming a lot easier. Now, one important thing is when you actually craft a product, normally you would come over here and craft, let's say, a dihydrogen jelly because you needed it. You can actually hit the A and D key on PC or on console. There's a little note there to change the crafting amount and just easily make multiples at once. So one thing you can actually do when crafting new items as well, if you're not sure what you need to actually craft it, is come in here, click an open inventory slot, hover over an item, and then hit E or whatever your button is to actually view the craft steps. This is actually going to show you exactly what you need all the way down to the bottom level to end up crafting this. And you can look up these crafting trees very easily to know exactly what you need to craft basically everything in the game because there are a lot of things. So if we select the shadow lure here, we can actually hit E to view those crafting steps as well. We can see we need all of these minerals to craft these items to then craft the shadow lure. So definitely use the crafting tree and crafting steps in your menu within your inventory, and it'll make crafting a lot easier. Early on farming, you'll need tons of ferrite dust, dihydrogen, carbon, sodium, all those basic resources. Once you have your mining beam out, obviously now you're going to farm these with your mining beam and collect these from things like rocks, plants, etc. While you're farming early on, the better multi-tool upgrades you get, the faster you're going to be able to essentially farm bunches of resources way easier. You can see in our multi-tool, as we go to different space stations, we're actually able to grab different components to help us mine way faster. For instance, we have this advanced mining laser that upgrades our speed, the optical drill that increases our resources mined by 88%, and our waveform recycler that gives us bigger scan radius and less recharge time. You also have these supercharged slots, and you can see our optical drill only gives us 50% extra resources mined. If we move this into our supercharged slot, this will actually now give us 88%. So you get a huge bump from putting things in these supercharged slots as well. But adding different modules onto your multi-tool and stacking them here can greatly increase the time it takes to farm resources and the amount you get from them. Also, you can actually shoot items on the ground to actually get a lot of resources even faster. Even though you're using your mining beam early, you can definitely hover around, shoot a ton of rocks and a ton of different resources. You can see how much ferrite dust we're able to get compared to using our mining weapon. Now you can actually make tons of money early on just by scanning things for your discovery tab for each planet you visit. And again, there are upgrade modules that you can add to your multi-tool that actually give you way more reward for actually scanning things and finding them. And we recommend you scan all the resources, all the fauna, as much as you can find for each planet that you visit, because you get tons of early game credits and tons of early game nanites, which you're going to need to upgrade your modules and increase your progress that much quicker. One thing the game doesn't tell you is you have individual discoveries you can upload for free nanites every time you scan things from planets. So if we look at our floor here, we can actually click this button and upload that discovery to actually receive 3 free nanites. And you can actually get thousands of nanites for free this way. If you don't want to do these one by one, you can actually click the discoveries tab. You can then hit the button to go back, and then it will actually put you in the visited systems menu. From here, you can actually click this upload all button. And now you can see we just got 327 nanites received just from going and uploading from a few planets. In your log, you're going to notice you have primary missions and secondary missions. Secondary missions could be anything from small missions from locating a material that you're looking for, or even side missions where you can earn currency or even faction rep. Early on, you can feel free to do as many secondary missions as you like, but we recommend doing most of the primary missions first because they introduce you to a ton of in-game mechanics. And if you get stuck on secondary missions right at the beginning, you might spend 15 or 20 hours doing them before you realize you have something that you could have done one primary mission for and made your life a lot easier. Doing these first will introduce you to basically everything you need to follow and all the paths you need to take in the game to teach you a lot of the in-game mechanics that otherwise you're probably going to get lost on and question. Early on, from finding different chests to different damaged machinery, you'll notice you're starting to gather a bunch of specific things, specifically viscous fluids, living slime, residual goop, and rusted metal, and these are all junk items under the junk category. These junk items can actually give you a ton of free nanites. In any refiner, you should take your residual goop and then transform those into viscous fluids. You can then take your viscous fluids and refine them into living slime. You can take your living slime and transform that into runaway mold, and then turn that runaway mold into instant nanite clusters. And with hundreds, if not thousands of each of these, you can easily create tons of free nanites that now your Starship launcher uses fuel, which you have to consistently make in order to fly your ship around. Early on, you'll notice that you're going to need a ton of Starship launch fuel, which again will take ferrite dust to make metal plating and dihydrogen in order to make one Starship launch fuel. The same goes for creating things like warp cells, where you'll need to use antimatter as well as an antimatter housing, which again takes even more resources. You can see each time we launch, we actually use some of our launch fuel. Now, one key tip is if you're flying around in the game, a green glowing circle on the ground or a landing pad, if you actually launch from there, you don't use any of your landing fuel. So if you can, prioritize landing on those spots. You can actually replenish your launch thruster through launch fuel or through uranium specifically. Uranium you can mine in plenty of deposits across the game, stack the resource, and actually be able to use this way easier than launch fuel. In my opinion, this is 10 times easier. Also, the Anomaly space station will actually sell you the launch auto charger. This actually works better than both the other previous two options. This will actually charge 4% of your launch thrusters every single minute. So once you land your ship, go explore for a little bit and come back, your thrusters are completely full all over again. You basically never have to use launch fuel. Another super important thing early for a lot of reasons is salvage data farming, because salvage data is required to essentially unlock and upgrade a ton of skills in the game. The more salvage data you have, the more advanced technology you unlock, the easier your life becomes. You can actually recycle salvage data as well as sell it to vendors for a ton of nanites and currency. But again, being your primary way to upgrade into advanced technology, it's important you farm this as much as possible. These are also typically accompanied by damaged machinery, which you can then get the junk materials to also turn into nanites for free, as well as getting nanites after you loot the damaged machinery. Also, another thing is you're going from planet to planet, you want to make sure you're always scanning planets as you go by them. That way you kind of A, discover them, but also B, you see what resources they have. That way, in case you need to go back and find those types of resources again, you can always check your visited systems category and look at all of the systems that you visited and basically look at every single planet as well as all of the information about each planet. So you can come back and actually hover over each planet that you've scanned, which is why scanning is important, and see the resources that each one offers. Keep in mind, you can also use your teleporter to teleport to some of these locations very easily, and that's one of the things we would recommend. That way, each time you visit any system, you always go to the space stations, because it will essentially unlock checkpoint or teleport points for you. That way you can always teleport easily right back to them to either turn in quests, buy different things, or even just move around the map faster. Now each space station will have a cartographer, and here you can actually exchange or buy random maps that you can then use to find certain things. For instance, if you actually pick this exosuit upgrade chart, you can actually use it to find the location of a drop pod that will actually give you an additional inventory slot. Again, each station you have will basically have one of these, and you can easily go back and forth farming drop pods to increase your overall inventory, so that way you can expand it and have way more inventory slots. But outside of finding those, they're randomly scattered across systems. One surefire way to unlock all your inventory spots is you can actually get 2 guaranteed inventory upgrades every single system that you visit. Each system has a space station that has a free exosuit upgrade that you can then use to get an extra inventory slot that you can get for a certain amount of units. The anomaly also has the exact same thing, where you can pay for an additional exosuit inventory. Again, that's 2 per system. So if you visit multiple systems, you can easily get 14, 16, 18, or 20 and unlock all of your inventory that way. Or again, you can use drop pods until you max out your inventory completely. It is a huge upgrade for your character, and one you need to be paying attention to. You have a technology vendor at every space station, and this will allow you to purchase upgrades for your exocraft, as well as a Starship research guy, who will also allow you to purchase modules like the S-Class reactor. This is your main goal with collecting as many nanites as possible, so you can upgrade your Starship, unlock more inventory slots for not only your inventory, your cargo for your ship, your actual Starship upgrade spots, as well as your exosuit and your multi-tool. And I would always look through these, because if you ever find one or an upgrade that you really like, you can keep that in mind. So by the time you get the nanites to buy it, you can come back, get it, and upgrade whatever piece of gear you're using. And you can see with your multi-tool upgrade, you can actually use it here. And again, this will allow you to upgrade and add new slots to your multi-tool, as well as upgrade its class to make it perform even better. And each space station will also have weapon terminals on the side right here that you can actually access. And this will give you the chance to straight up buy a brand new weapon, where you can buy a class B or even higher weapon, which you can do early. And again, some of them have these special slots here that make them more powerful. This way you can get better weapons much more quickly right off the bat to upgrade your original scanner. Keep in mind, if I were to buy this upgraded scanner module, but whether it's that or upgrading a module on your Starship, you still actually have to craft it with the components required that you can see below, which means you need to have both of these materials to actually craft it and put it on your ship. If you hover over it and it says it requires installation, it's actually not activated. And as you can see with this upgrade now, for fauna analysis rewards, we're getting plus 10,000%, meaning we're getting an insane amount of credits every single time we analyze new fauna and new flora as well. And we're upgrading our scan radius on top of it. So the more of these you get that you can add on to your multi-tool, the more you can stack them and gain insane amounts of rewards. And again, at space stations or the anomaly, one cool thing is when NPCs come and dock their ships, if you actually can't find the upgrade materials you need right then and there, you can just go to any NPC that docks their ship at the space station, and you can trade with them to actually buy some of the materials from them that you might be missing, or even hire them for your freighter. And if you wanted, even completely buy their ship outright. One thing I wish I had done is when you find your very first crashed ship, you may be tempted to try and keep it and replace your old one. You should repair the thrusters and the main things you need to get it flying. And then you can actually take it to one of these space stations to a Starship outfitting. And keep in mind, you can actually use your menu to select back to your other ship once you've brought this one here. So don't worry, you're not leaving it on the planet to essentially die. But once you take the new ship back to this Starship outfitting station, you can actually salvage ships here. So when you bring back that completely decked out crash ship, you can then begin an analysis. And even though you can't do it on your only ship remaining, you can make millions and millions of units by salvaging these ships that you're not going to keep or you don't need. Keep in mind, you can also get free upgrade modules from them as well that you can then put on your ship, make it way better. Now, one early thing on is you can invest into blueprints and advanced technology once you reach the anomaly. This is essentially the main hub for No Man's Sky. And you want to explore everything and all of the NPCs here because they have great gear and a ton of different things you can do. You'll talk to specific vendors such as Helios that can actually reward you with nanites for discovery data that you find, as well as areas that can also take milestone data for nanites as well, being an easy way to get you a ton of free nanites very, very quickly by just visiting those 2 people. But one of the big primary things here is the main area in the back up the stairs. This is going to give you access to a ton of amazing upgrade modules, again, like the Starship free fuel module, which I mentioned earlier in the video, as well as a ton of different modules for your multi-tool, your exosuit, and trust me, a lot of great modules that you're going to want to buy. That's first. You also get inventory spots here by visiting the anomaly in each system, so make sure you're doing that as well. But also you have access to the advanced technology hub here. You can actually use your salvage data, which we already talked about is really important, to upgrade and unlock different building modules that you normally might not have access to, different advanced technology that you wouldn't from the basic terminal. And this will give you a bunch of things you can learn and then put in your base to make your life a lot easier. Other things like the chests that you can buy mean that you can store tons and tons of resources for free, extremely easy directly in your base. So make sure you look at your advanced tech trees here and start investing in it early. It's going to make your life way easier. And one of the big things you're going to notice this kind of comes from is by doing missions. At the space station, you can visit the mission vendor where you can browse different missions that they have. And these can also give you a ton of not only nanites, but standing as well. These are standing with different guilds or factions that you can then visit and buy specific things from different factions or engage in new quests or more rewarding quests. You can see this level 9 Korvax faction mission. You can see it rewards this Korvax standing, but it also gives us way more units than some of the other missions compared to this level 1. Again, you can get tons of units, nanites, and tons of rewards from doing these missions from space stations and the anomaly alike. No Man's Sky is an insanely huge game with literally trillions of planets. You can also check your different standing here. You can check your standing with the different groups. For instance, the life forms here like the Gek and the Korvax, you can see we're actually rank 9 right here. But again, the more things you complete here, the farther you progress and the higher rank you go, meaning you get more rewarding missions with way better rewards. The same goes for the Merchants Guild, the Mercenaries, the Explorers, and the Outlaws. And the more of these you complete, the more rewards you're going to get by getting access to more of their quests and items that you can buy. The space station has access to the Merchants Guild, which means we can collect free and paid supplies here just by being a certain rank of the Merchants Guild and having access. In the right situations, you'll actually need a weapon, especially when using combat in the Starship, because in certain planets you can get attacked for a lot of different reasons. In the Starship, one of the things I wish I had learned early is that you can actually automatically track ships just by backing up and reversing. So if you reverse, it will actually track your ship directly to the enemy ship, instead of just holding down the W key or moving forward and having to turn infinitely to try and catch up to them. But again, between fighting sentinels and a bunch of different enemies later in the game, eventually upgrading to a multi-tool with higher damage potential, and either a bolt caster or different weapon module will help you clear areas and defeat enemies a lot easier. So keep out for those upgrade modules as well. They're just as important later down the line. As far as your base goes, even if you don't build a crazy starter base, you want to eventually have some of the main items here. Being a teleporter that's being charged by a battery, but one advanced technology upgrade you want to make sure you make early outside of the chest that you can see over there to hold your resources is specifically solar panels and batteries. And the way the solar panels work is you can take each solar panel and essentially feed it into one battery, and the battery will store all of that power for you. Now, then what you can actually do is chain all of the batteries together via the electric wires. And then if you look at one of the batteries, you can see the grid power storage is 585,000. By chaining all of these together, you can see now if we remove that electric wire, our grid power storage goes down to 89,000. That's because all of these are connected in a line and they're no longer connected to our main one and then our final battery that goes down here. By chaining all of those batteries directly into this battery, now that we've reconnected them, we have full grid power storage, and this means our power, even when our solar panels go off for the nighttime, every single thing in our base. Not only do you do a ton of exploration in No Man's Sky, but again, there's trillions of planets, so many things to scan, so many different life forms to learn and find, and I mean completely full planets. As far as the eye can see on a planet, you can go. So you will literally never run out of exploration. There's never been a better time to start exploring No Man's Sky. Click the link in the description or pinned comment to start playing on Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, or the Switch. Again, thanks Hello Games for sending me over a copy and sponsoring today's video.